Maigovanen. Today we have this absolute monster of an integral that I came across while evaluating another absolute monster of an integral that is actually part of a very special formula that I will release a video on in the coming days. And during that solution development is where I came across this integral, rather a generalized version of this integral. And after solving it, yeah, I decided that it definitely does deserve a video of its own, because this thing is absolutely awesome. We're interested in the general case of I of alpha, defined as the integral from 0 to infinity, of e to the negative 2 alpha x over x times the hyperbolic cotangent of x minus 1 over x dx. So for the purpose of this video, we are interested in the case of alpha equal to 1, which will look pretty cool, but the general result is even more important. Okay, cool. So we have I of alpha, and it looks like Feynman's trick could be fruitful over here. So I'll just differentiate this whole thing with respect to the alpha parameter to get I prime of alpha equal to, switching up the order of the integration and differentiation operators, we now have the integral from 0 to infinity of the partial derivative with respect to alpha of e to the negative 2 alpha x over x times hyperbolic cotangent of x minus 1 over x dx. And of course, evaluating the derivative is quite straightforward. Integral 0 to infinity, we have negative 2x e to the negative 2 alpha x over x, so there is some cancellation, of course, which means that we have this factor of negative 2 outside, e to the negative 2 alpha x times hyperbolic cotangent of x minus 1 over x dx. And now what? Well, we do have the hyperbolic cotangent, and the hyperbolic trig functions are defined quite nicely in terms of the exponential function. So we know that hyperbolic cotangent is equal to hyperbolic cosine or cosh of x over hyperbolic sine or sinh of x. So we have e to the x plus e to the minus x over 2 divided by e to the x minus e to the minus x over 2, cancellation, meaning that we have this cool assortment of exponential functions. So I prime of alpha equals negative 2, rather, I'll distribute the negative 1 and write this as 2 times integral 0 to infinity e to the minus 2 alpha x times, now the 1 over x comes first, minus, Now I could expand the right-hand side of the above equation by e to the minus x. I believe that would be pretty cool. So by that token, we have 1 minus e to the minus 2x over, it's 1 plus upstairs, and downstairs it's 1 minus e to the minus 2x, integration with respect to x. Okay, cool. Well, we have a bunch of 2x terms, so we might as well invoke a substitution here by letting 2x equal t, which implies that 2dx equals dt. So we get rid of this factor of 2 in front of the integral that I was bound to forget anyway, so yeah, that's convenient. Integral 0 to infinity e to the negative alpha t times, okay, so x equals t over 2, so that means we have 2 over t over here, minus 1 plus e to the minus t over 1 minus e to the minus t dt. This is where the fun stuff actually begins, and it starts fairly simple by multiplying out this exponential term. So we have integral 0 to infinity 2e to the negative alpha t over t minus e to the negative alpha t times 1 plus e to the negative t, which we can expand as this thing, plus e to the negative alpha t times e to the negative t, terribly sorry about that, over 1 minus e to the negative t dt. And now we need to expand by 0. So we have integral 0 to infinity 2e to the negative alpha t minus 2e to the negative t plus 2e to the negative t over t. Okay, already this seems interesting. And over here, I'd like something else. I have a factor of 1 minus e to the t here, and I'd like something similar in the numerator. So I have an e to the negative t term here, and if only there was a minus sign available to me. Well, we have e to the negative alpha t plus e to the negative alpha t e to the negative t, and I would really like it if there was a minus 2 e to the negative alpha t term over here. So I'll add that term back. No harm done. And of course, I'll make some space for the differential element, which I often neglect writing. Okay, cool. So we have integral 0 to infinity of 2 times e to the negative alpha t minus e to the negative t over t. That certainly looks like something quite familiar. Plus 2e to the negative t over t minus, look what we have here. We now have e to the negative alpha t times e to the negative t minus e to the negative alpha t, thanks to these guys over here, plus 2e to the negative alpha t. And I might as well get rid of the negative sign by writing this as... Nah, I'm going to have to reverse that thing later, so I'll just leave the denominator written in that form. And from here I could factor out an e to the minus alpha t term. So I have this thing, minus 1. Okay, cool. So far, so good. So let me just write this out a bit more clearly. So I will now invoke the linearity of the integration operator and write this as twice the integral of e to the negative alpha t minus e to the negative t over t plus, we do have one integral 0 to infinity, minus sign, but you know what, I'm just going to write this a plus sign for this term in particular. So that would be e to the negative alpha t, 1 minus e to the negative t, got rid of the negative thanks to the switching up of the order inside. And I have 1 minus e to the negative t over there, and you see the utility of cancellation. And of course, I have a couple terms left. This thing here, and this thing over this thing. Okay, cool. I also have a factor of 2, so that's a plus 2 integral 0 to infinity, e to the negative t over t. Negative, positive, we have a negative sign, folks. E to the negative alpha t over 1 minus e to the negative t dt. Whoa, that was interesting. And now this integral here is extremely simple to evaluate. I mean, it's just the integral from 0 to... Why is this so hard to write? It is just the integral from 0 to infinity of e to the negative alpha t dt, which is e to the negative alpha t over alpha, limits being 0 and infinity. Negative sign because of the argument, and as t goes to infinity, the exponential goes to 0. Minus 1 over alpha, negative signs canceling out. We have a 1 over alpha term, folks. And this thing over here can be evaluated quite nicely using the Frullani integral. Now the general result for the Frullani integral, which will be linked in the description... Wait. I hope it will be linked in the description box. I do not remember clearly whether or not I've released a video on the Frullani integral in the past. Well, I hope I have. At this point, I honestly don't remember. But the thing is, the result goes like integral 0 to infinity, f of alpha x minus f of beta x over x dx equal to, where the function f is, of course, such that the limit of f of x as x tends to infinity exists, which we will write as f of infinity. Terribly sorry about that. That is horrible notation, but yeah. So it's f of infinity, meaning the limit of f as its argument approaches infinity, minus f of 0 times the logarithm of alpha over beta. Okay, cool. So for our case, we have the function f being e to the negative t, alpha being alpha and beta being 1. So this thing sorts out to 2 times e to the minus t as t goes to infinity is, of course, 0, minus e to the 0 being 1, times the logarithm of alpha over 1. So that means this integral sorts out to minus 2 log alpha. And now, what about this thing over here? It may look kind of scary, but you know how much I love special functions, and this thing is the integral form of a very special function, and that is the digamma function. Specifically, it is the digamma function evaluated at whatever you have up there. So this thing is just psi of alpha. Okay, cool. So this implies that I prime of alpha equals negative 2, terribly sorry about that, log alpha plus 1 over alpha plus 2 psi of alpha. Now, what exactly is the digamma function? It is just the derivative of the logarithm of the gamma function, in this case at the argument s, that I'm calling it being evaluated at, terribly sorry about that, s equal to alpha. So that's cool. If we integrate this thing, we just get log gamma, which is important because now we plan to integrate this thing to recover back the integral function, meaning that we have I of alpha on the left equal to negative 2. What exactly is the integral of the logarithm? A quick integration by parts will reveal that you will get alpha times log alpha minus alpha plus 1 over alpha sorts out to log alpha, and this thing, like I said, sorts out to log gamma alpha, plus a constant of integration, the evaluation of which is quite interesting. Now, we all know to determine the constant c, we need some information, some initial value of the integral function, which was defined as I of alpha, being integral 0 to infinity, e to the minus 2 alpha x over x times hyperbolic cotangent of x minus 1 over x dx. So this looks fairly straightforward. I mean, you have e to the minus 2 alpha x. So if we evaluate the limit of I as alpha goes to infinity, the exponential term decays to 0, and we have a 0. So that's it. We just take the limit of this equation as alpha goes to infinity. Problem is, the right-hand side seems a bit problematic. I mean, we have alphas, log alphas, and gamma alphas. So there are a couple of ways to approach this. The physicist approach is to look at the right-hand side and say, yeah, it's 0. Definitely 0. Unfortunately, that is incorrect. So sorry about that, physicists. It's not your day today. It is the day for engineers, though. That's right, we're going to use approximations. We have the gamma function, which is, of course, the factorial function, so we need an approximation for the factorial, which is, of course, the gorgeous-looking Stirling's approximation. Engineers of the world, rejoice. This is indeed your day. We got alpha factorial, or some form of it. I'll get to that later. This is asymptotically equal to, let's see, root 2 pi alpha times alpha over e to the alpha. And what is alpha factorial? This thing is just gamma of alpha plus 1. But what is gamma alpha plus 1? This thing is just alpha times gamma alpha. So if we expand both sides by 1 over alpha, this means that gamma alpha is asymptotically equal to root 2 pi times root alpha over alpha, which sorts out to 1 over root alpha, which in totality gives you the stuff times alpha over e to the alpha. That is beautiful. And we have the logarithm of the gamma function. So we have log gamma alpha asymptotically equal to log root 2 pi minus log root alpha, or 1/2 of log alpha, plus alpha times log alpha over e, which sorts out to log alpha minus log e, which is, well, log e is just 1, meaning that we have alpha times log alpha minus alpha. And these terms look strangely convenient. I mean, let me just copy and paste the stuff down there. So for large values of alpha, we have I of alpha asymptotically equal to minus 2 alpha, terribly sorry about that, log alpha plus 2 alpha plus log alpha, and we have twice of log gamma, which we expanded above as log root 2 pi, and minus log alpha on multiplying by 2, so see what I did there. And then we have a plus 2 alpha log alpha minus 2 alpha. Hell yeah. Oh yeah, the constant of integration for which we were going through all of this pain. So we have some wonderful cancellation taking place, which implies that the limit of I of alpha as alpha goes to infinity equals log root 2 pi plus c. But wait, we know that this thing is just 0, implying that c here equals negative log root 2 pi. That was awesome. But what's even more awesome is the fact that I have my notes right here, and it says that log 2 pi is equal to c, well, negative log 2 pi, that is. And there's a reason for that, a very good reason. We have 2 times log gamma, so yeah, there's a 2 over there. And 2 times 1/2. That was still awesome. So we have I of alpha equal to what exactly? I've completely forgotten. So it's, let this be the leading term on the right-hand side because it looks extremely cool. And of course, this is just a constant, but again, the evaluation was extremely cool, so I'll let that be the second term. Then we have minus 2 alpha log alpha plus 2 alpha, I believe, plus log alpha. And that is a result, well, this is a result that we're going to need for a future video. And by future video, I mean very near future video, that is. And of course, we were interested in the case of alpha being equal to 1, which is okay, that's interesting as well. So I of 1 is 2 log gamma 1 minus log 2 pi minus 2 times 1 times log 1 plus 2 plus log 1. Now, gamma 1 is 1, and all the log 1s just crash down to 0, meaning that the only thing you have left is, well, 2 minus log 2 pi, which is pretty dope. I mean, this is a beautiful looking result indeed. Maybe we can just go overboard and write this thing as log e squared. I mean, yeah, sure, like, why not? I mean, in that case, we would have I here equal to log e squared over 2 pi. You know what? That does look awesome. I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to like and subscribe. Tune in next time. Thank you. See you next time.